All right, let's dive in. We're going to architect a solution for what is, hands down, one of the most common challenges out there. A user shows up with their personal Windows laptop and needs access to Microsoft 365. So, our goal? Secure that access, but without the nightmare of actually managing their personal device. This is the big picture strategic overview of how we make that a reality. And this, right here, this quote is what we are up against every single day. This is the voice of the user. They do not want IT taking over their personal hardware. And you know what? We don't really want the liability or the overhead either. So forcing that full mobile device management, or MDM, enrollment on them, it's a complete non-starter. It just creates a wall of friction. This is exactly why we need a totally new model. And this slide really gets to the heart of that new model. It's a fundamental shift in thinking. We are moving away from that old device-centric world of MDM. The new vision is all about being data-centric. We're leveraging mobile application management, or MAM, to protect what actually matters, the corporate data living inside the application, not the piece of hardware it happens to be running on. Which brings us to our first major concept, and it's a big one. We are witnessing the end of enrollment as we know it. For years, IT had this really rigid binary choice. Either you fully manage a device and grant access, or you deny access completely. That model's just broken in today's modern workplace. That's the key. The control plane literally shifts away from the physical hardware. We can stop caring if it's a Dell, an HP, or something they built themselves. What we secure now are the two things that matter: the user's identity and the secure container holding our data. This is a really profound change in how we need to approach endpoint security. Okay, so how do we actually build this? Let's look at the architectural blueprint. This entire strategy is built on 4 core pillars that have to work together perfectly to create a true zero-trust environment on that unmanaged device. Pillar number 1 is identity. Look, in a world where the old network perimeter is gone, the user's identity, verified by Microsoft Entra ID, is the new perimeter. We start by trusting the verified user, not their unmanaged machine. Everything, and I mean everything, flows from this point. Next up, Pillar 2 is the container, and honestly, this is a total game changer. The browser, in this case Microsoft Edge, becomes the operating system for work. The Edge for Business profile creates this cryptographically separated sandbox, completely isolating all your corporate data, your cookies, cache, downloads, everything, from the user's personal browsing life. Now for Pillar 3, the auditor. This is the Mobile Threat Defense, or MTD, connector. Think of this as our agentless risk sensor. It's brilliant. It integrates with the Windows Security Center to get real-time signals about the device's health, things like patch level or if antivirus is running, all without us having to install a heavy, invasive agent. It gives us that continuous health score we need before we grant any access. And our final pillar is the governor. That's MAM without enrollment, or MAMWE. So once the user is authenticated and safely inside that secure edge container, these policies provide the final critical layer of control. They're the rules of the house. They govern what a user can actually do with corporate data, like preventing copy and paste to a personal app or blocking local file saves. Okay, so we've laid out the 4 pillars. Let's dig a little deeper on that container concept. We are, in effect, treating Microsoft Edge as the operating system for work, and the engine that makes this all possible is conditional access. I want you to think of conditional access as the bouncer at the club door. If a user on an unmanaged Windows device tries to get into Microsoft 365 using their personal Chrome browser or a standard Edge session, nope, access denied. Conditional access is the gatekeeper that slams that door shut and forces all corporate traffic into the protected, MAM-enabled Edge for Business profile. It's the enforcer. All right, this brings us to what I think is the most elegant part of this entire architecture. This is where we solve the unmanaged device paradox. How do we trust a device we don't own, can't see, and don't control? I mean, this is the fundamental question, isn't it? How can you be sure that a contractor's personal laptop isn't riddled with malware or has a keylogger running before they access your sensitive financial data? You can't just push your agents onto their machine, so you need a completely different way to get that signal of trust. And this flow diagram shows you exactly how we do it, so let's just walk through it. Step 1, the user tries to get to a resource. Step 2, our agentless MTD connector sends that device health score up to Intune. 3, Intune takes that score and assesses it against our predefined risk policy. And finally, step 4, that signal is fed back to Entra ID's conditional access policy, which makes the final grant or block decision, all in real time. The magic here is that we aren't owning the device, we are simply interrogating its health.
And that health score isn't just a simple pass or fail. The MTD connector gives us a much richer state: secured, low threat, medium, or high threat. This is what's so powerful for us as architects because it allows us to build incredibly granular policies. For instance, we could say, sure, you can access your email on a low-threat device, but you can't get into our sensitive SharePoint sites unless that device state is fully secured. So, let's recap where we are. The user is in. They've passed the identity check, they've passed the device health check, and they are operating inside that secure edge container. But we are not done yet. Now, we have to apply that final layer of control, the MAM guardrails that protect the data itself, inside the browser. And what's great is that Microsoft provides this awesome 3-tiered framework for app protection policies. You get to choose your level. You could apply a light touch level 1 policy with very low user friction, or you could escalate all the way up to a level 3 policy for your high-risk users, which, as you can see, can block data transfers, clipboard access, and even printing. It lets us perfectly match our security posture to the actual business risk. Now, here is one of the most powerful data leakage controls in this entire model. We have the ability to encapsulate all downloads. So when a user inside the protected browser clicks download on a file, our policy can actually intercept that action and force the save location to be a corporate managed OneDrive. This is huge because it means that sensitive file never ever touches the unmanaged local disk. And what about the oldest form of data leak in the book? Someone just taking a picture of their screen with their phone. Well, we've got an answer for that too. We can enable dynamic watermarking. This actually overlays the user's email address or identity right on top of sensitive web content. It's a massive visual deterrent because accountability is literally baked into any screenshot or photo they might take. Okay, so let's zoom back out and pull all of these different pieces together. When we combine these layers, identity, container, auditor, and governor, what we have is a truly cohesive, modern, and elegant security strategy for the zero trust endpoint. So, this is it. This is the new BYOD model in a nutshell. Identity becomes your new perimeter, the edge browser becomes your secure container, the MTD connector is your continuous agentless risk auditor, always watching, and finally, MAM policies act as the data governor inside that container. You see how each pillar has a very distinct and absolutely critical role to play. And of course, let's be realistic. None of this works if the user experience is a disaster. The modernized interest sign-in flow is absolutely critical. It clearly guides the user, helping them understand that they are just registering an application with the company, not enrolling their entire personal device. That clarity is essential if you want people to actually adopt this. So we'll end on this question for you to think about. This architecture represents a major evolution. If the browser truly is becoming the new operating system for work, and we can secure corporate data within it without ever having to touch the underlying hardware, what does that mean for the future of endpoint security? It really points to a future that is way more flexible, more focused on privacy, and ultimately a whole lot more secure.